friends, and welcome back. My name is Deepa from DeeZinesByD, and today I have a little bit of fun for Christmas in July with some Scrappy Tails products. So, don't know if you know, but Scrappy Tails has released a retro Christmas limited edition card kit for Christmas in July to get you started on your Christmas card making. I have that kit here and I want to show you the contents of that. You can probably find a more in-depth review of all of the products included on Sabrina's channel at Scrappy Tails Crafts. But to go over what they have here, I have the two embellishment packs. One of them you get like an aqua blue with some snowflakes, and the second is just some clear green and red gems. You also get Have Yourself a Merry Christmas die. You get the larger 6 by 8.5 double-sided paper pad. There are 24 sheets, 12 designs, so there's 4 of each. You can see you get all these beautiful patterns. You have the truck with the trees, the lights, the Santas, the stripes. I love that there are more specific designs that also match the rest of the products, like the stamps and the dies. And then there's also generic like snowflake background, things like that. You can see you get 2 postcard pieces there. So as I said, there's 4 of each design, so potentially you got 8 postcards that you can just cut out and use. And then after that, the pad just keeps repeating there. So we have the stencil here, which you can use to make that postcard that I showed you. You have all of these stamps, which have sentiments. You have potential to make tags or just main focal points for your cards, along with the coordinating dies. There are 2 6 by 6 stencils. One has small little stars and the other one has snowflakes. These would look gorgeous with glitter paste. And then I've got the tree here. So you have 2 sizes of a tree. You've got like the little snow bits that could go on there along with presents. And then you've got another style of tree, which again has a larger and smaller. And then you have these pieces here, which are what you would use to make the actual ornament. And I will have another video coming out where I show you how to make simple cards using the pattern paper and the stamps. But for now, in this video, I'm going to be making a card that has the 3D Christmas tree. Now you can see my paper pad kind of came apart there. I just kind of tape it back together just to keep everything in one piece. I've taken that red starry background here and I'm just taking the tree die to see how big I kind of need this. So I'm going to need a larger card. This is going to be a 5" by 7" card, so I've cut that down to a little bit smaller than that so that I get a bit of a border. And I always like to remind you and myself by doing this that you can always change up the pattern paper. Don't think that you have to use it exactly how it is. If it's a lighter color, you can add a darker color or a different color just to make it match your color scheme. Or like this, I like to darken up the edges of this panel. I always love doing this, especially for Christmas cards that have a focal point, because it just draws your eye in towards the center of the card, towards that focal point. Not to mention, it also it creates a bit more depth to your panel. Now you can see that the tree, this is the larger tree, fits right in the center there. I am just going to position it and cut it out. Now before I did this, I did kind of dry the panel just a little bit because it has a bit of a gloss on it, so you don't want your ink coming off onto your hands. And that little bit of drying did the trick, so I don't have any ink on my fingers, no red. I've done this before with another paper pack. I think it was with the J'adore collection, and I did not do that drying portion and I got the ink all over. So we live and learn. Always kind of just dry it with a little bit of heat from your heat tool. Now you can see I'm positioning that die cut tree, and I'm cutting this out of the card base as well. That way I have that complete opening through not only the pattern paper but the actual front of the card, because this 3D tree is gonna want to kind of spin around in there. You can see for the actual trees, I cut out 6 of them from the smaller tree die. And I'm using the smaller tree because I want it to fit through that opening. Now, if you compare the two, which was what I was doing, the larger tree and the smaller one, you see that some of the branches are going to touch. They're not exactly the same image, just smaller, or one is bigger, one is smaller. So they are a little different. So I'm going to have to do some actual tree trimming, but we'll get to that in a minute. So the first thing I'm going to do here to kind of assemble this 3D tree is I'm going to score all of these 6 pieces down the center, and I'm just kind of lining it up on my scoreboard and just eyeballing it. Now you could use the actual die cut bits that, or the dies that come along with this to make this tree, but I just wanted to keep it simple here. So I've gone ahead and just scored these, and now I'm adding tape to either side of that score line. And then what I'm going to do is attach each bit of the tree. So now I'm attaching the second tree die cut. Now I'm only attaching it to one side. I'm going to open it fully, and then I'm going to add another strip of adhesive. I'm using strong adhesive here because I don't want this to come apart, especially if it's going to be a moving element on my card. So now I'm just going to attach it, and then I'm going to continue in this fashion until I've attached all 6 pieces. Now, keep in mind, this is going to fold flat to go into an envelope. And if you want to decrease on the amount of bulk, if this is going through the mail and you don't want it to be too thick, only add maybe 3 die cut pieces. You don't have to add the full 6, and it will still have a 3D look and it won't be as bulky. But I added the full 6 because this is going to be a card that goes to a recipient that I'm giving to, in person rather than going through the mail. So now I have to add my string. So I've just got some clear twine here. I've cut a long piece. It's longer than I need it just in case. And I'm just putting it in there in the center of the tree. Now, one thing I did not do properly, which I'm going to tell you so you do, is to actually attach that glue right up to the top, especially in this portion where you're adding the string. That way it's not going to move. Because what happened was I didn't fully glue it down right up to the very top of the tree, and then it started moving around, so it didn't stay straight. And so when it would spin around or move around in my window there, it didn't, it kept hitting the edges. So that's one way to avoid that. Make sure you've got that tape all the way up to the top. Maybe use a thinner tape near the top, and then it should stay nice and well. So now I've got everything together, and you could see how nice that look. It just spins and looks gorgeous. Now moving on, you're going to realize that I run into a little bit of a problem here because, as I mentioned, that tree doesn't match exactly. So I'm doing some trimming. So I'm kind of just putting the tree in the center window, and I'm looking at where those branches are hitting the sides. And I'm going to do some trimming not only on the actual 3D tree just to cut down a bit of the branches that are hitting the edges. I'm also, once I attach this, I'm going to do some more trimming on the card front to just kind of make sure this can move in the center. Now in the end, I'm going to settle for this just being like a decorative piece, as in like it's got a 3D element to it on the front of the card there. It doesn't spin as I would have wanted it to, like a spinner card, but if you do want it to spin, this is how you do it. Get a different die. Get maybe a square die, an oval die, something that is going to fit this tree, and it's going to clear the edges completely, and then you'll get a spinner card with it. Now, in this case, this is just going to be a movable tree. It kind of just spins around. You can stand it up, and it has that 3D effect to it. So it still works. It just wasn't my original idea. That's all. Sometimes in crafting, you win some, you lose some. And sometimes when you do make mistakes, you come up with better ideas. So you never know. Sometimes when you're doing something, it doesn't pan out how you want. You figure something else out, right? So I'm going to, well, here you can see I'm adding those embellishments to all of the different faces of that tree. I'm adding some red and some silver just to kind of highlight that tree and have it match the background pattern paper that I used for the card. Okay, so now comes that finicky bit. I have to attach this at the top and bottom, and you can see it kind of clears that tree. If I had maybe attached the string a little bit more taut near the top, it could have worked probably. But as I said, I'll make do because it still looks gorgeous, and it does move through that tree that we cut. So it needs a little bit of help to do that, but hey, it all works out in the end. So I'm just attaching the string to the card base here. So I'm kind of lining up the tree and just attaching that string. As I mentioned, the important part here is to make sure that string is taut. So even once you've kind of adhered it, kind of pull it just a little bit to make sure it's really taut. And then I don't cut it right there. I kind of pull it down and then tape it again. This way you know the string is not going anywhere. It's there and it's not going to move and it's not going to, come undone or anything. And you're just basically going to hide that extra string behind the pattern paper. So now I've added some adhesive to the card base all around, even the edges there where the branches are in the window opening. And then carefully take that pattern paper and place this on, maintaining the border, the straight border around the edge, and then lining this up with that inner tree window that we had cut out with the larger tree die. Okay, so now that that is done, I can do my extra trimming, tree trimming. So this time I'm not trimming the actual 3D tree, but I'm trimming the window opening. And all I'm trying to do is kind of make sure that those branches can clear the opening of the window so that it can still move. It won't be a full spinner card like I wanted, but it is going to move. I am going to make that tree move if I have to cut a big opening here. But I'm trying my best to maintain the look of that tree so it doesn't look off. So after a lot of trimming and looking, you can see that I can fit that tree there in the center. It folds flat and it does move with a little bit of help. I'm going to stamp out my sentiment now. I'm using the Scrappy Merry Christmas that comes with the stamp set in this kit, and I'm just stamping it out with some plain old black VersaFine Clear Nocturne ink. I'm going to cut that out with the coordinating die. And then I'm going to keep the front of the card really simple because I want the focal point to be that tree in the center. So once I've cut out the sentiment, I can add it to the bottom there. And then I've also got the star. You want the star on top of your tree. So I'm grabbing the other tree die set. It's the other style of tree, and it actually has a star topper. So I'm going to cut that out of some silver cardstock, and just cut the little piece off the bottom so I can attach this at the top of the card as the star on the tree. So once that's done, as I mentioned, I'll use some foam adhesive to attach that to just give it just a little bit of dimension. Not that we don't have enough dimension in this card. And I would usually add embellishments, as I said. I'm just going to keep it simple this time. Now, another thing you can do with this card kit is dress up your envelope. Now, because it has that postcard element here, it has a lot of elements that you can use on an envelope. So I've got a couple of the stamps in the set. I'm just stamping those out there at the top right corner. I've got another little element there. It says handmade for you. We've got the airmail stamp, and then I've also got a sentiment, one of the sentiments that you could probably use on the inside of your card. I'm just going to put that on the front of my envelope. And eventually when I do send this off to the recipient, or as I said, this is going to be a hand given card, I can just put the name there anywhere. It just gives it a nice look. Now you could actually keep all of that stamping plain black and maybe just do some ink blending with some red ink on top. That's a quick idea. I decided to grab my Prismacolor colored pencils to add some color to the images that I've stamped out. So to that tree, the little presents and the snowflake and the stamps. So that just gives it a little bit of color. And then this will be the envelope for my 3D semi-rotating Christmas tree card. So I'll just finish coloring this up there, and as I do that, I really want to let you know that when I make my videos, wherever I make mistakes, I love that I can share with you how you could do it so that yours is done in a way that works. So as I mentioned, if you really want that tree to spin like a spinner card, just make sure you use maybe an oval or a square die cut, and that will spin nicely. So you can see I'm moving it with my hands here. It clears the window of the tree, so you can move it around. You can see when you place it down or put it on display, it looks absolutely gorgeous. So this card still turned out beautifully. I hope that you like the idea and that maybe you try the idea with maybe a larger opening so that you could create a spinner out of the tree. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out that card kit on the Scrappy Tails website. It is packed full of crafty fun, and I'm sure it'll get you kick-started into getting your Christmas cards done this year. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.